Hey, 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 and welcome back to the Fully Booked Photographer podcast. And we're on our third Fully Booked Photographer mentor because we've had a series now. We've had two episodes with Janine and two with Brad, and now we've got the amazing Jonathan with us too. And Jonathan, you're the first of the mentor team who actually doesn't run a photography business.
Yeah, it feels foreign doing a podcast at the minute because we've all been like missing. We've gone from everyone doing a podcast to all of us together to just individuals. So yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, and I think it's great because the advantage of these podcasts is that it's easier for our listeners to see the heart and soul of each of you because you are all so unique and you all bring so much to the Footy Book Photographer. I think it's great that people get to see part of your soul, and it's easier to delve a little deeper with you guys when it's one on one rather than us all together. So Jonathan, just for everybody's benefit, just so they know, for in case they don't know, we're related, right?
I think so, anyway.
Well, your mother tells us we are, so we'll go with that, right? So yes, but either way, Jonathan is my son, and he's a great guy. He's got a massive heart, and just loves to help people. But let's go back in time, Jonathan, because there's a similarity between you and I in that when I started, when I left school, and my mother always said, become an accountant, and I went and I studied accountancy for a year, and then that didn't work out for me, and I dropped out of that and said, no, I want to do marketing. And then I said to my parents, because I'd fallen in love with your mother at this time because we met when we were 17. So I said to my parents, can I have a job in the family business? So it's funny. There's a sort of a parallel along that with you, right? Just tell us a little bit about your time and how you ended up joining the business and why you asked to do so.
Yeah, so I guess from maybe the age of 14, 15, all I really cared about was tennis. Just tennis, tennis, tennis. And I was lazy when it came to other stuff just because I wasn't interested in it. So when I went to college, I studied business and accounting and absolutely despised it. I hated college. I hated people in college. I hated the subject. I hated everything about it. All I just wanted to do and be was on a tennis court. And it wasn't because I was not good at tennis, but it was just my passion. And that's all I wanted to do, was just be on a tennis court all day playing tennis. So I ended up when I was 18, I became a level 1 tennis Ireland coach. At the time, there were 3 different levels, level 3 being the highest. So people with that qualification were working with, the high performance players at national level. So I did my level 1 at 18. I did my level 2 at about 21. And in my final year of college, I actually was sick of it, decided to drop out. And I was coaching in a tennis club, in my local tennis club, and that's all I was doing. I hadn't found what I was really passionate about doing long term because I didn't want to coach long term. It was just kind of, I was interested in it because of my passion for tennis, but it wasn't what I wanted to do, 10, 20, 50, 25, 30 years into the future. So I remember coaching over the summer, and when I was a teenager, I did jobs in the factory in photo value and 3XM. Well, 3XM didn't exist at the time, but in photo value. And you approached me and you asked me, do you want a job for the summer? Try it out. Come on in. We're looking for people to block the mounts. So that means hot foil stamp the mounts that photo value sells to the UK market. So I came in and my first few jobs were, because I'd done that previously, were sweeping the floor, cleaning up the factory, and using these machines to stamp photographers' names onto our cardboard mounts that we make, or mats, as they say in the US. So yeah, that was meant to be a short-term thing in the summer, and yeah, I haven't left since. So the adventure is interesting because I guess at the time you were formulating your master plan for 3XM, and I went from blocking mounts to, starting to look at our first ever laser machine that we got in for engraving the crystal USBs and engraving the wooden boxes. And then it got into, the printing machines and the foiling on the 3XM boxes and the laser engraving and all of that. So I ended up working in the production side of 3XM. I was probably one of the first of two production people in 3XM. And then I started getting into some, client happiness. So I answered all of the messages that came in, the emails and the chats, and answered the phone calls, and, call clients to whatever, take payment for their orders or update them on their orders or whatever that might be, or any inquiries. So came to the point in time where I was doing a mixture of everything. So I was going to trade shows, I was doing in the client happiness department, I was in managing production. We'd grown to 3-4 people in the 3XM section at that stage. This is really early doors, and still trying to find out what I actually love to do. So how long was I in that area, like, of 3XM?
I don't know the exact time, but we were growing rapidly at that time, right? We'd started from scratch. We'd launched in the UK market. No, in the US market, I mean, nobody knew who we were in the US market. And we built, and we sort of hit the market on a wave, and demand was ginormous, and there was many stresses, right, keeping up with demand and everything else. But it was a really good learning curve for you in terms of starting a business, right? That has stood to you along the way. That learning of, because it was effectively, even though Photo Value is a well-established business, with 30 odd people working in it, has been there for a long time. This was like a startup. It just happened to be within an established business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the one of the challenging things, like, a lot of people who don't understand it feel that, say a family business is like easy to work in, or that it's easier than working somewhere else or for someone else. And I can tell you, it's definitely not. I feel like the family members are tougher on you and expect more from you as a family member than everyone else working in the business. So it can be quite challenging from that aspect. Then there's also that added pressure that you don't want to let your family down. You want to do the best possible job for them, for what they built, for their passion. And then the team, you don't want to let the team down, especially, being part of the business as a family member. So there's that added pressure, as well as the whole stress of a startup, because startups are really stressful. It's not easy to start a business, like you started many. I've started one or two, and it's it's chaotic. There's a lot that happens, and people don't see behind the scenes, and it can be quite demanding, physically, mentally, in every aspect. But on the the flip side is the experience is invaluable. Like, there's no other job really that you can walk into where you get exposure to everything. You see the internal workings of the business. You understand what it takes at a production level, operations, client happiness, sales, marketing, the financials. You get that insight that's just, you go from like knowing nothing to knowing a lot in such a short time because of that exposure. And that's one of the big pluses to it. And one of the big learning curves for me over that growth period, when you started 3XM, was understanding what it actually takes to run a successful business, and what it takes to build a successful business, and the blood, sweat, tears that go into it. Yeah, and the resource and effort that's actually required to make it happen.
So you always, though, had a desire within you to do your own thing, right? Because you are a third generation of entrepreneurs, right? In that, I was like you. When I started in our family business, I literally was said, when I asked Dad, it was the same thing, yeah, you can come in and clean the floors. And within 3 months, our sales guy, we'd only one salesperson run time left. So I was sort of sent on a 2-day sales training course, bought a van and said, off with you. Which was difficult for an introvert. So I understand it. I understand what you're saying about that. So talk to me about this desire to run your own business. Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't realize it would be so difficult talking about this stuff. You don't realize how actually close to your heart it is. But it's yeah, I guess there's me. I'm a very very impatient person. Super impatient. It's one of my flaws. I think many people are impatient, but it's definitely one of my big flaws. One of my many. And I wanted more. I always wanted more, and I felt like I was stuck. Like even managing all the roles, I wasn't necessarily enjoying it. It wasn't my thing. I didn't necessarily like working with other people. Not really. People say I'm a people person, but it drains me. Even if I am great with other people, it does mentally drain me. It takes a lot of effort, and yeah, I wanted more. I was ambitious. I wanted, to build something of my own and be in control. It was a control and a freedom thing. I didn't like the idea that even though it's like working in a family business, like in client happiness and production, you kind of have to be there, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 or whatever. Some days were 12-hour days, and that feeling of like not having freedom to explore my other passions, like tennis, or at the time, or doing things that was important to me, was a big driver as well. So I think, at the time, part of my why was based in freedom and being and control, because I'm a bit of a control freak, which I've realized and I've had to learn to manage and deal with. But that was the big driver. And then I can be a bit of a proud person as well. So like the fact that I am third generation in the business, it's important to me. I'm passionate about that. I'm proud of that. But yeah, everyone has that little bit of ego and that little bit of peacock where they want to have their own flair and their own thing. So that was when I started. That was around 2018. I think at the time as well, I had 2017. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which was a challenging time in the growth of, say, 3XM as well. And 2018, then I became men's captain of one of the biggest clubs in Ireland, Nice Tennis Club. Kind of rediscovered my passion for tennis, and I wanted that freedom to live that passion. So that's where the exploration into starting my own business began. And I had a look at many things, and I looked at many different, it started with Googling how to start an online business. I always wanted to be able to work from anywhere, to have that freedom, because I loved going to Spain to play tennis, and I loved, being movable, because or remote, because at that time there's, COVID didn't exist. There's no such thing as this working from home stuff. It was a different world. So I wanted that freedom to be able to move, and that's when I started looking into what was out there.
And it's interesting because when you talk to a lot of photographers, they say the same thing. Like the reason why they're passionate about photography, but one of the advantages of running their own business, right, is that freedom. Whether that's you want to spend more time with your kids, or you just want to be in control, like you said, and be in control of your own destiny, and you're your own boss, and you don't have to answer to anybody. That's a big motivation for a lot of photographers too. So you share that, just in a slightly different field, but the core desires are the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So when you were searching for this business idea online, am I right in saying, I don't know whether this is the first one or not, but you looked into selling on Amazon and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it was. I found. If only I knew what I knew then, what I know now. Anyway, the fun of all of this. If you take my knowledge today and put me back 10 years, I'd probably be retired. But anyway, started looking into courses, and I bought a course on, I think it was how to drop ship or sell on Amazon. You see them all the time online, and it was something to do with finding products that had good margin, and sourcing them in China and reselling them on Amazon in the US and all of this. Anyway, it wasn't for me. It wasn't my thing. And that developed is what you'll discover is a lot of these course creators promote other courses in similar niches with different offers. So I bought another course again on Amazon. Is more about creating your own brand. This one, but that wasn't for me. So, I got rid of that, refunded that. And then the same people I bought the original course off of started promoting this course on affiliate marketing. So this was 2018, maybe May, June 2018. So at this time, I bought the course and I remember going through it and I was absolutely fascinated. And my initial thoughts were, there's no, like, has to be a complete like scam. There's no way this is real or this happens. And it's basically running Facebook ads where you run an ad, it goes to a landing page that then goes to a sales page that a vendor has created to sell a product. And most of the time the product was like a supplement or in the health niche, so selling supplements for different things like weight loss and other things like that. So that was the offer that these vendors had created. And how it works is you create an ad, it goes to a landing page. On the landing page, they click on your affiliate link and it goes to the sales page that the vendors created. So they do all the heavy lifting and they pay you a commission. That's the basic model. So your job is to run ads and create landing pages with copy to kind of pre-sell people before they go to the sales page. So I had a look at this, and this is when we first came across the concept. This is when I first came across the concept of pattern interrupt for Facebook ads. This is where it all began, that we talk about a lot in the Fully Booked Photographer now. And you'll see a lot of advertisers talking about it. These guys were early. They were geniuses at the time. I remember there's challenges with it though, because the advertising is quite aggressive. So Facebook don't like it. So Facebook shut down your ad accounts and stuff. So I remember without even being able to run an ad, I had my ad account shut down at the time. And I remember talking to you about it and you were like, oh no, that can't be real. That's a complete scam. That's not real. Like, it was just like whatever. So a year goes by and these guys release a course yearly on the subject, and I just kept seeing, like, I followed them on Instagram and I kept seeing like student results and stuff, and for some reason there's this like deep thing inside me that said this will work, you just need to put in the work, right? And a lot of what was holding me back was my mindset. That's why we talk about mindset a lot. I didn't believe it was possible. I didn't believe I could do it. I didn't believe in it, right? And we see that with photographers sometimes coming in running ads for their own business. They don't believe fully. So long story short, a year goes by. I buy the updated course. I kind of go on and off, like doing different things. Like I said, at the time I was men's captain in ACE and distracted by that and other things. Still working in 3XM. And I say, right, going to make an effort at this. So September 19, so it's a year on, pretty much, just over a year. Updated course comes out. I was like, right, okay, great. I'm going to buy this. I think they give it half price if you bought their original course. So it's like $1,200 or something. Like, okay, let's do it. The updated course is much better. I got a better understanding for Facebook ads. Became a bit obsessed with advertising and marketing in this time period. And dove into the course. They had like an inner circle membership thing with a weekly call that was like $500 a month. So joined that. You were in like pods, so you got access to mentors who mentored for this company, and you got to ask them questions on Zoom and stuff, and learned a lot from that. And just any hour that I had outside of my normal job and the tennis club was spent on this. I was all in on it. So then there was one particular mentor who was famous for being, at the time, the 50K a day man. So he had made 50K revenue in a single day running affiliate offers. And in January 2020, I reached out to him and I was like, will you mentor me one-to-one? I said, this is my last straw. If I don't do this, then I'm just going to continue with my job, whatever. I'll quit that. I'm done. So my mindset shifted in that. And when I had the first call with this mentor, I said, look, I know you know what you're doing. So I'm just going to put every single bit of faith in you, and I'm going to borrow your confidence. And that's where the borrowed confidence thing comes from that we talk about. And I'm going to say, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. And I appreciate that it might not work the first time, but I know with your guidance and support that we can make it work. So I did put in long hours. He was actually based in Singapore, so I used to get up at 1 a.m. to go on calls with him. And just before COVID hit, it took off for me. And it felt like printing money at the time. Started spending $100, $200, $300, $500 a day, up to $1,000 a day, and making double that back. Started spending over $1,000 a day, doing 3, 4, 5K days in revenue. I'm someone that needs to share. So within the community, I was sharing my adventure, my story as I went along. So even from my first sale to my first profitable day to my whatever first $100 day, etc. So I used to share stories and share my findings, and I built up a bit of not intentionally a bit of a brand within the community, and networked with a lot of people in the affiliate world. And then I shocked a lot of the mentors, and because not for the results, because they were achieving the same or better, but because of the willingness to share and to network, even though technically we were all competitors, but our mindset was one of abundance, that the market was big enough for all of us. So eventually I ended up being invited to become a mentor. So that was a moment in time when I think I really understood my true why and purpose, because nothing thrilled me more than teaching and helping others. And I loved seeing others succeed. And I got to the point in the affiliate world where, I was running partnerships with other top affiliates, and we were spending, up to 24K in a single day on ads profitably, and doing like 30K revenue days. Not often for those, probably average like 3, 4, or 5K a day in ad spend, which is quite small compared to some of the advertisers out there, but I guess quite big for others. But yeah, it's a decent chunk of change. But that world is like, yes, it's very profitable, but it's also very stressful in the sense that the model is kind of like day trading. You're not building an asset. I wouldn't consider it a real business. I like to call it flipping cash, because you're spending money to make money, and the margins are tiny. So I get very, very jealous of photographers running Facebook ads, because God, their margins are so big. You guys don't know how lucky you are. But yeah, so that's when I decided that, I was going to roll down doing a lot of the affiliate stuff and focus on the fully booked photographer, because by mentoring, I understood that, the most joy I get is when I see other people succeed and see their success and see that I've had some input into that success and helped them achieve that.
And there's probably nobody else in our industry that we're aware of. I'm sure there might be somebody somewhere who has the depth of knowledge that you have of Facebook advertising, right? In terms of, you were ClickBank's, one of their big performers. You've got awards behind you from ClickBank from being the affiliate and all that. And as you say, it's the toughest area of Facebook marketing, because it is like day trading, as you said. Like, it's no full, no fee. You put down your money, you spend it on Facebook ads with no guarantee of return. If you don't make the return, you've spent the money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without sounding like, I don't want to sound like in any way condescending, because it's not. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. But in reality, running ads for a photography studio is far simpler than what I was doing. And I don't mean that in a condescending manner or anything like that. It's difficult depending on the level you're at, of course. But really, it is a lot simpler than what I had to do.
So talk to us then about, because you invested heavily too, right, in your education in this area. So I know you said that you bought an initial course for a couple of thousand, wherever it was, but what have you spent building your expertise in this area? Because I think the figure, it certainly frightened me. I think it'll frighten others.
Yeah, so I love marketing. I just love it. It's definitely my passion when it comes to business, marketing and advertising. And I'm also a big believer in, the day you think you know it all is just give up. Your ego's taken over, because no matter how good you get, there's always a bigger fish. And no matter how good you get, you can even learn from people who are quote unquote smaller fish. I don't mean that in a bad way, but people who, are at a different level to you, in the sense that they're less experienced, you can still learn from them. So I don't like judge people at all depending on the level they're at. If they own a company that does $1 billion turnover, 100 million, or 100,000 or 10,000, there's always a lesson that you can learn from someone. And so I always believe in investing in your own education. So I've spent $170,000 since 2020 on working with some of the best marketers and advertisers in the world to understand advertising, copywriting, marketing funnels. I think I've worked with many of the top advertisers and marketing experts in the digital world that are out there. And when I talk marketing, I'm talking like direct response marketing, some content marketing, but mostly in direct response advertising, which is one of the toughest fields of marketing.
So did you say £1.70?
I wish £1.70. Janie Mac, if I could get that knowledge for £1.70, happy days. $170,000.
All right. So talk to us about then, your experience with helping photographers, like, what, because this was a new area for you. This is a business that you didn't really know as a business in terms of the internal workings. And I know you've learned an enormous amount from Brad and Janine, but you must have learned even more working with actually photographers on it. Tell us about that. Like, what have you enjoyed about that, other than helping them get fully booked? What have you enjoyed about that?
Yeah, I mean, the team itself, they always talk about the sum of the individual parts is less than the sum of the parts together, or whatever that quote is, but the synergistic effect of the team together is incredible. And it's just like you take four people who know what they're talking about and you put them together with different skill sets and with different, experiences and different ideas, and it just becomes simply amazing. So in terms of like, it is interesting. So I actually approached you at the time and said, look, having worked in 3XM, I said, photographers really struggle with marketing. We need to help them. We need to use our knowledge and help them out. And so I approached you and said, all right, let's start a company. As still part of Photo Value 3XM, let's start this training division helping photographers with their marketing. So we started off as Business Success Academy. We transitioned into the Fully Booked Photographer. During COVID, Brad joined the team. So I got introduced to Brad and we were chatting, and, it was interesting starting off talking with Brad because his experience is marketing his photography business. And we just kind of realized how we call same but different we were, in the sense that for the training I'd put together for photographers, I'd created an ad copy formula for Facebook ads. And when we looked at the ads that Brad ran, we realized that his ads followed the exact same ad copy formula that I created. And we never even we'd never met before, never seen each other's ads or anything like that. So it's just kind of like when small things like that happen, you're onto something in that, okay, this is real, this works. And you pick up lessons from each other. Like when Janine joined the team then and the four of us came together, I think the learning that we uncovered from each other, we were able to help other photographers bring into their business. But you also learn by working with photographers. So obviously we have our concierge marketing service where we run ads for photographers, and we've worked with clients, and you get like a little bit of an insight into their business and into the mindset and into what they're looking for. And well, certainly we do as a team. We feel pressure to actually help people because that's what we're all about, helping our clients. So there's a lot of pressure in that sense, and we don't want to let people down, and we want to make sure that they achieve their goals. But I guess I'm not answering your question. It's tough. Like the exposure. Obviously, I've been to Janine's studio, to Brad's studio, spend 5, sometimes 6 days a week with both Brad and Janine. I spend 2, 3, 4 days a week with our members, and yeah, you learn a lot and you help them learn. So it's been really beneficial. I have an incredible understanding now of what a successful photography business looks like because of my knowledge of business and marketing and my exposure to business and what it takes to run a successful business. Like, it's the same across different industries. Most businesses have the same problems, the same challenges. You're not unique. You're really not unique. The local businesses all have the same challenges. Even the bigger businesses have the same challenges. Lead generation, marketing, sales, profit first financial system, not having a financial system, not knowing how to manage staff, not being a good manager, not knowing how to hire people. It's the same skill set across different businesses. The variable is the deliverable, the product. It's the same being a photographer as it is being an electrician. The only difference is the deliverable, the skill set. It's taking a photo versus, wiring a plug or whatever it is. But they still need the same business skills, and that doesn't change. The principles, the underlying principles of marketing, like creating offers, writing ad copy, running ads, speaking to your ideal client avatar, knowing your ideal client avatar, knowing your marketing metrics, your sales metrics, your business numbers. That's universal. And I've seen it across, I have friends in many different industries, you know, some who own businesses, some who work in businesses, and it's the same stuff. You know, tennis is a great outlet for that. You have so many entrepreneurs in the tennis world across different industries, and you speak to them, and it's always the same thing. You know, and everyone thinks they're unique. Oh, that won't work in the photography industry. It's the exact same in that industry. We've seen it. You're not special. None of us are. So yeah, you learn, you pick up that quickly that the same challenges exist, just the deliverable and the product and the niche changes. But it's been an amazing photography business. If you run it right, can be an absolutely incredible business. You can enjoy your passion. You can make very, very good money in it, and you can make a difference to your clients' lives.
So on that note, Jonathan, you mentioned something there earlier very early in the conversation about, you know, you're envious of the margins photographers work on, right? But often the challenge for most photographers is they're just not fully booked, right? They don't have enough clients through the door. And that's a marketing challenge, right? And that's the challenge that we see most often that we need to start with. Because when you're fully booked, you know, it's like you're in a momentum, right? So when you're fully booked, it's actually easier to actually make more improvements that will multiply your success, depending on what you define your success is. And that's a key point too. And you mentioned it earlier, Jonathan, that, you know, being fully booked is different for everybody, and there's no one of those better than another. So, you know, guys, the team that we've put together at the Fully Booked Photography, you can see now from these individual podcasts that we've brought them together, as Jonathan said, same but different, with different skill sets, with different areas of expertise, although united against behind one mission, which is to make you fully booked so that you can have a greater impact on more people. And in so doing, as Jonathan said, make a real difference to them. And that's why we all wear these t-shirts, is, you know, we truly believe the transformational work you can do for people. And by gosh, does society need more and more of it? They absolutely do. When you look at all the different challenges society has in mental health and all those areas, you know, and you can truly make a difference to those people. So on that note, I can't believe our time is up, Jonathan. We could have gone on for hours, but you know, we thank you for listening to this podcast. Just remember, if you want to be fully booked, all you have to do is click on the link below. We have a 30-day free challenge. All it's going to cost you is time, where you can come in, you can learn from masters like Jonathan, Brad, Janine, to become fully booked within the next month. That's what you can. That's our promise to you. If you do the work and you implement, you'll be fully booked within those 30 days. All you have to do is click on the link below. And of course, if you want to hear more from the Fully Booked Photographer, make sure you press that subscribe button too, whether that's on this podcast or whether you're watching us on YouTube. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been inspirational, as has Janine's and Brad's too. So I know it's not easy sometimes to talk about ourselves, because, as we say, success equals IQ minus ego plus hard work. So I know sometimes we don't like talking about ourselves, but thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, guys, that's bye from us. We'll see you again on the next podcast. And don't forget, click that button, get into that 30-day challenge and get fully booked.